Greetings, YouTube. As I said in my previous video, I've been reading a game called Pythos, which is very similar to 5th edition, except it's using a D10 instead of a D20. Though I think it was kind of like because small is better kind of a philosophy, I think, because they wanted to do percentiles in 10-point chunks as opposed to a D20, which is percentiles in 5-point chunks. Um, One of the things they do, though, when it comes to their health, what they call hit points, is that when you get to 0, you're dead. And I really don't like that model. Um, Ever since we started playing first edition D&D way back, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, way back in the primordial ooze of the gaming community, we went to -10. As I got more practice under my belt, I went to -con because I think that someone with an 8 con should not be able to survive bleeding out as well as somebody who has a 16 con. That just makes sense to me because there are people in the world who are genuinely and legitimately tough. They take a long time to die. We have cases like this where people should have died, and they're like, "Why is this guy still alive?" Kind of a situation. I mean, there are people who, like a woman who fell out, who the back portion of a plane fell off. She fell 37,000 feet without a parachute, and she survived. That's tough. Um, and not only do I think it's nicer to the characters because 0 dead, I just don't think is fun. I don't think it's fun. I want there to be a buffer space. That once you get to 0, exactly 0, you're stable, you're unconscious, you're not getting better, you're not getting worse, you are just dead. And if you're to the negative, you start going down 1 point every single round, which is significantly more dangerous under a 6-second rule system than it was back in AD&D times when it was a 1-minute round. Yeah, 1-minute rounds. Now I look back upon that, and it's like looking at the horse and buggy era of gaming. It just makes no sense. Um, and I still think that reflects reality because when a real person, is knocked unconscious, they don't immediately die, and it is quite possible for them to wake up on their own. But if they're grievously wounded enough, they're not going to wake up on their own. But if they receive medical attention, they're going to survive. And again, I think that is reflected in using negative con as your go-to reference. Because if you are bleeding out and someone gets to you, staunches the wound, can get you in a world of high fantasy, pours a healing potion down your throat, does you know, a cantrip level I guess it would be an orison level healing spell or something, you are now completely stable. You're not getting any worse. You may not be getting any better, but you're not getting any worse. And now they can actually get you some real healing once everything has settled down, once the dust is settled. And I think that is just a reflection of the real world. And it's not a stretch to say that there are times when having the real world intrude into our high fantasy makes perfect sense. I want weapons and armor that have the same weight as real world weapons and armor. If you're going to have a bulk stat for your equipment, give it a bulk stat. Do not tell me that the weight is you're rolling and you're folding in bulk. That's BS. Bulk and weight are not the same thing. They just aren't. So weight is weight, bulk is bulk. Never the twain shall meet. Um, I want dogs to behave like dogs unless they're magic. If they're an ordinary dog, I want the dog to behave like an ordinary dog. I want it predictable, understandable. I want the person to be able to relate to that because they've been around dogs in their life. Okay? Um, so anything that isn't part of the fantastical aspect of the setting, in my opinion, should reflect the real world because that makes us feel like we understand the world around us in the game. Everything else seems sensible to us. And so having someone who's unconscious instantaneously die, to me, doesn't seem realistic. That seems completely artificial. That seems very video gamey, where you're going to respawn because at the last save point because you're playing a game, and very few people play games where they're hardcore you know uh, no saves kind of a situation. Though I have seen somebody play Fallout 4, you only live once with only one pool of hit points for the entire thing and pull it off. It was quite impressive. Um, So I think that negative con is the best route to go when it comes to your kind of a D20 system. I would have to do, I might have to tweak it depending on which system it is. I think I've used that in Gamma World, I think in every version we've run, which was, let's see, we ran first, second, third, and fourth. And then I've kind of ad-libbed, I think, a version once that I don't remember how it worked. I made up a lot of that stuff and I went on the run, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think I used negative con in all of those games as well. And some of those games could get ludicrously high stats. But then again, you could get ludicrously high stats in old AD&D and even under 3.5 and first for Pathfinder First Edition. But most people, their stats were never going to get much more above 25 unless they started whipping out wishes and things like that. But if somebody's going to take the effort to dedicate their entire character's career path to having a 30 con, bloody well let them. They've dedicated a lot of resources into that. It's okay if their character survives for what is it, 30 to 180 seconds, 3 minutes, slowly dying. They're just very, very tough. And I don't have a problem with that. So I wanted to hear what you have to say. Do you think that 0 dead makes sense? Do you like -10, which has been, you know, uh, a rule that people have been using? It's been in the gaming zeitgeist for as long as I can remember, all the way back to 78. Or do you use negative con like I prefer, which gives the bit much more flexibility when it comes to individuals? Because some characters have like a 6 con and some have a 16, so it gives you a kind of a wider range of different body types and their survivability. So let's talk about HP and negative hit points.